Welcome to our latest installment of our interviews with PTK regional officer candidates and their campaign. This afternoon, we are speaking with someone who's handled an officer campaign as a campaign manager, Roxanna Martinez from Eastfield College in Texas, who managed the division vice president candidacy for Sandra True. And we are very, very honored and very, very grateful that you took your time out of a busy semester to give us a feel for what the campaign is like and also for what your plans and endeavors and goals with PTK are. So thank you, Roxanna, for joining us very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And so for starters, just for our audience, give a brief intro of yourself and besides your chapter and those type of details, what your role was and any other interesting details for the audience before we get started.
So my name is Roxanna Martinez. I'm from Eastfield College, as Paul said. I'm currently a veterinary major. I plan on transferring to Texas A&M Commerce as a senior. I am currently the junior advisor for Site Ada at Eastfield College. And of course, I was the campaign manager for Sandra True. In 2019 to 2020, I was the Site Ada president. And that's about it.
All right. So for starters, before we get into the details of the campaign, which is obviously the highest demand subject matter that everybody has questions about because it's the rarest thing that someone can do in Phi Theta Kappa, sort of take us to the beginning as to how you got involved with Phi Theta Kappa, what made you decide to join, and what made you interested in becoming involved with your chapter in the early days.
So I started college in 2016, but I didn't get the invitation until 2017 until I got the full prerequisites for Phi Theta Kappa. Once I got the letter, I was so excited to actually get involved with the college and see what other benefits I could get out of college. When I talked to the lead advisor, Sharon Cook, she was so friendly and nice and welcoming. So I decided to go ahead and take that step. After actually accepting the invitation and stuff, I was granted a Global Citizenship Alliance scholarship, which basically is a study abroad trip to Salzburg, Austria. And after that, I was granted the position of treasurer in 2018. So that's where it all started, and that's where my journey with Phi Theta Kappa started. And I am so excited for what the alumni version has to hold.
So what would you say in terms of what it's like at your chapter and at your college? Everybody believes their own institution is unique because all institutions are unique, but what do you find special about your chapter and about Eastfield per se as a whole?
I say Eastfield College is like a family. We all basically know each other, the faculty and staff. They know us by name, so we're just not like a label or a number to them. They actually get to know you and sit down with you and actually ask how your day is.
And so after you had become an officer and were becoming more and more active with the chapter is where the opportunity with Sandra True's campaign cropped up. Talk a little about how you came to encounter her and how her campaign began to take hold and what was the deciding factor that got you on board with participating in her campaign.
So I met Sandra True in 2018 when I first began to be an officer. At the beginning, I didn't know much about her, but as we started working together and doing team projects, that really brought us together and actually allowed me to know her background and where she came from and her change in life. She started telling me about her journey of recovery and substance abuse, but then how she is trying to be a substance abuse counselor to allow others to not make the same mistakes. That being I chose to be her campaign manager because I truly believe in what she is trying to do, and she inspires me to give other people a second chance or take my own second chance.
And then, and by the way, I have not deliberately not noticed the wall of fame that you have behind you, but that's about the best backdrop that anyone's done for any of these that I've done. So you deserve various different artistic awards for putting that together. Just in and of itself, I'd like to mention. I have my degrees that kind of look like that because I've been in college too long, but it doesn't quite look like that. So what were your responsibilities, before I turn it over to Katie, just to see, the last question I had for the moment are, what were your typical day-to-day responsibilities as a campaign manager, and what was a typical day like for you?
So as a campaign manager, I basically had a plan and would print everything out from headquarters, the guidelines and the regulations and stuff like that. I sat with Sandra True and we discussed our game plan as to how we would like this campaign run. I also ran her social medias, provided content for her pages, etc. A day in the life, I guess you would say, for a campaign manager is waking up, checking the social medias, checking how many likes and the feedback your audience is actually giving you. After that, you obviously create new content for the next day so you won't be rushing. And then after that, you contact your candidate and actually ask them, hey, is there any status on whatever item she needed to do? If she has anything that you need to edit or you need to create or anything that she would like you to do, then you do it that day, of course.
All right, Katie, did you have anything you wanted to jump in with?
Yeah, actually this is, I don't know, it's like my favorite question, but how, so you know how, I mean, at first when you're planning for this, you're planning for it, you know, to be like a face-to-face in terms of, you know, campaigning and having things that possibly, I don't know how far you guys were along in that process, before we had to switch over to the virtual. But how are you able to kind of shift what you were doing already to, I guess, adapt to the online, the virtual, that really is what it ended up being?
So for my personal preference, I do prefer everything virtually. I think I'm more acclimated to the social medias and running the accounts for SIADA. So it really was a benefit for us to have it virtually. In terms of reaching out to people, I think with social media and with the websites, you can really reach out to other states and other chapters. So I didn't really see, I guess you would say I lost the word for it.
Drawback?
There we go, a setback to the campaign being like that.
So when you were, obviously you referenced how you took to the campaign and were talking about your candidate's mission statement and message. What, obviously, speaking for your perspective, working on her campaign, what do you think are the most important priorities for Phi Theta Kappa in the immediate future that are of importance to candidates who are seeking international office?
I think actually incorporating all types of ages, not just the straight out of high school. I know Phi Theta Kappa does a good job about providing transfer scholarships, but after you graduate with that bachelor's degree, there aren't many scholarships for masters, or people don't know that it actually goes further than your bachelor's degree. So I think actually promoting that side of Phi Theta Kappa and knowing that you can actually be an alumni with a chapter at your university, that is a way they can promote that.
And on that note, you mentioned the master's degree scholarship. That's something that's important to me because there's only one official graduate school scholarship. 2 people get that every year, and I know that because I got it when I was in grad school. And that was very important. And that's part of what our mission is about, is not just increasing the awareness of those opportunities, but actually increasing the endowments and increasing the amount of opportunities that exist for people at the bachelor's and graduate school level both. So you are very much ahead of the game, because that presence is increasing within Phi Theta Kappa, and that's thanks in large part to the leadership at the top. Lynn Tincher-Ladner's done a great job seeking for awareness, and I have no doubt that's going to follow up with an endowment impact as well that you'll see. With your responsibilities for the campaign and with the interactions you had a chance to undertake with people all across Phi Theta Kappa, all across the country and globally, what do you think is the most important ways that experience benefited you as a student, but professionally and personally? What were the most important things you think you learned, the most important skills that you developed and honed during that time?
I learned how Phi Theta Kappa does not stop here. I learned that it actually got alumni chapters such as you guys to actually reach out to us that are still in the community college industry. When I began this journey, I did not know there was so many alumni chapters, such as in Kansas or in Corpus Christi, that had reached out, wanting to actually use our campaign to showcase the benefits of Phi Theta Kappa. So it actually opened my mind to new possibilities.
Now, Katie, did you have anything to chime in on that one? Because before I proceed.
No, continue. Sorry, I'm writing some of what you're just saying. I'm kind of typing down, so I'm kind of doing 2 things at once.
Aside from the candidacy element of the fact that you were participating in Catalyst because you were working for a candidate, what was it like? Had you participated in Catalyst previously?
Only last year.
Okay, all right. So it's hard to give a perspective of what the departure is like when the convention itself is moved to the digital format as it is. But what were your impressions about how Phi Theta Kappa was able to make lemonade out of lemons, as it were, with that event?
I think they did a good job in showcasing what the main programs of the Catalyst are, but you can't really do all the in-person events and stuff like that and actually do the homey environment when it's all virtual. So I missed out on that this year, but I know it was for the best of the situation right now.
And probably it's going to be back in Dallas very soon, because that's how things work. Is when there's a cancellation, it gets brought back. We, meaning me and a couple other members, we participated as volunteers, as alumni. We were ushers when it was in Kansas City a couple years ago for the centennial of Phi Theta Kappa, which was a distinct honor for me, and the other 2 people have since moved on. They graduated, but I'm still around. But yeah, it's unique from an alumni perspective, and it's also interesting to see how the alumni presence at Catalyst itself has started to increase. Yeah, there didn't used to be anything other than an alumni meeting at Catalyst, just and what I've seen.
To interject with that, I actually, for the longest, even though I was a regional officer, for the longest, I didn't know what happened after you left the community college, to be honest. And it's like, I didn't know, in terms of Phi Theta Kappa, I'm like, I have this and I have these skills, but for me, I was like, what do you do after this? It almost felt at least for me, when I transitioned, because I I've kind of been around a little bit long too at Washburn, just like Paul. But when I started, the what we have now with PTKAW wasn't there. So for me, it was kind of that difference. It's like, well, I was so involved. I did all these projects and did all this research and learned all these skills. I picked it up during when I was at the community college. But then moving on to the university, I almost felt like I was dropped off. Like, okay, here you go. Now you're supposed to be a big kid at a university, and it's like I'm so used to like this intensive like environment with Phi Theta Kappa. And then now it's like, what do I do? Where do I go?
Exactly. And then the closest thing is an honors college.
Right. And see, because I was a transfer student, I couldn't even go into the honors program at the university because I was already kind of like further along than the students coming in. So I was like, whoa, what do I do now? Like, I felt like I was kind of dropped off. So I think it's really cool that, now we're definitely have more buzz, getting more universities, to know, and all of our members to know, hey, you can continue, you can further, PTK, establish your chapter, an alumni chapter at your university, so that the same skills, the same things that that you learned at your community college, you can transfer all of that into the university and do the same things that you were doing, continue using those skills that you picked up, and now that there's like the 4 different edges, there's more skills that you can use that you've picked up, that you've learned, and continue furthering, your college, your community, and definitely furthering yourself. It's not just about your education. There's more to that. So
Exactly.
I think that's really neat.
And that actually segues into what I was going to delve into next about your immediate future plans. But I did want to give you an idea of where we're coming from. To give you, this is a true story. Four almost 5 years ago, I was an alum. I was in my second year at Washburn, and I went to our regional convention as an alum, ostensibly as a volunteer, but it was more for the purpose of showing up and pitching my idea of an alumni chapter at Washburn to all of the regional PTK advisors so they could steer their members to us if they went to Washburn. And so it was a lot of word of mouth recruiting. And that was the year that Katty was one of the regional vice presidents for the Kansas region. So she was all over that convention. I actually went to her breakout seminar that she gave on fundraising. And
fundraising.
you talk about being a small world.
Yeah.
After that convention, we got started, we got our charter. None of us, I didn't know that Katty was at Washburn, and we had a student organization fair for all students to participate in, and we have a booth there, and then we advertise to all of the Phi Theta Kappa alumni at Washburn, come to our booth and learn more about us. And so I wasn't there. One of our other members was there, and we had a sign-up sheet with people requesting more information. That person delivers it to me, and I will never forget this. I was at my TA job tutoring, and they bring it to the computer lab where I'm in, and I look at the sheet, and I said, okay, I'll write this person, I'll write this person. I said, Katty Vasquez, are you kidding me? Wait a minute, Katty Vasquez is at Washburn? I flipped. I freaked out. And so Katty didn't join right after that. She joined a little bit later. And that was, for me, it was probably one of the, I said, yeah, okay, we're set up now, because Katty's a person that I know is dependable and has so many resources that will be in profound shape. We wouldn't be doing any of this if Katty hadn't participated in Catalyst for us. So it will give you an idea of, Katty was sort of a missing link for us because she was the one person who had more connections around the region and with advisors and stuff than I did at that time. And most of my connections were getting stale because so many people were retiring on me. So she's given us such a lift in terms of utilizing those connections. And she just represented us at the convention a couple of months ago, actually, at the region convention. And she's pitched us again. Now there's a whole new group of people that know who we are. And we're getting to the point now where we're influencing people's decisions of where they want to transfer. And that's why it's of relevance to people when they're making, when the university's making the decision of whether they want to support a project like this or not. They need to understand it's going to be a competitive advantage for them. And we've made Washburn at advantage in the state of Kansas. There's no question about it. So with the specific
Well, that's an awesome story.
Yeah, it's the ultimate small world type story.
Yeah.
When Katie
But
ended
it's like, that's what Phi Theta Kappa is about. Connections and actually getting more people involved, no matter what level in your higher education you are in.
And so that's where I wanted to pivot, because I know from our previous correspondence that you have a lot of post-transfer plans when you get to Texas A&M Commerce that I wanted to delve into a little bit more closely. First of all, when are you transferring to Commerce, and what are you going to major in?
So I will be transferring to Commerce in fall 2020, which is this fall semester, hopefully on campus, because we don't know the status of the virus. I will be majoring in veterinary medicine with a minor in business.
I was gonna ask you, I was like, how you've done all this, kind of research, and you've done this, all this work as a campaign manager. How is that gonna help you with your major? But that's interesting that you said that your minor is in business. You've already done, a lot of, like the background workings of how to do things online now.
Yes, so I actually am I wouldn't say full-time online student. I do take some classes on campus, but my preference is online. So again, with the campaign, it was a easy, smooth sailing way of actually doing it virtually this year. I also do hold 2 associates, and that's what is going to help me with my major and minor as well.
And then also, I forgot, I'm going to jump back to the junior advisor role that you had. Could you discuss that a little bit? Because that was a novel concept to me when you mentioned that.
So after my presidency, I was planning on transferring, but I decided to take some more credits at community college because, of course, the financial aspect. So when I came back, my chapter actually reached out to me asking if I could be their junior advisor. I, of course, said yes. And with that role comes advising the team and actually helping them and guiding them as to how the HIA and college project and hallmarks are run. We also have on-campus awards that they do. So like student outreach does some awards at the end of the year. So my advice to them was, of course, how to do the awards, how to write the award and stuff like that. And if they needed any editing or anything from headquarters, I would reach out to them.
And that's a very unique and interesting way that the chapter does something to give the student a chance to continue to be involved in the way that you did, while giving them a responsibility that they'll genuinely value and get something out of. So that's very, very nice that they did that. And I can see how grateful you are for that, because it's definitely is a great honor that they recognize someone who contributed to the chapter like you did in that way while they were sticking around. Before I get back into your post-transfer plans, though, I did want to delve into about what your chapter and your members do, and what would you say as you're about to leave your chapter, if there was a single story that sort of was a project or something that your chapter was doing where you stepped back and said to yourself for the first time, wow, this is something I really love, and this is something that I can tell is going to be a major factor in my education and my career for the long haul. Was there a particular moment where that occurred to you?
So I think I have many occurrences like that. Phi Theta Kappa is just a great organization that you have so many memorable events happening that you can't really pick one major event. I believe with my whole Phi Theta Kappa career, that's a whole package.
She gave the all of the above answer. She
Yes.
viewed it as one amalgamated experience. So yes, I like that thinking. It's all one experience.
Yes.
my membership was very short, less than a year, because I was a part-time student for the beginning of my time at my community college. So I didn't hit the 12-hour threshold till much later. So that's where I became very infected with the alumni emphasis that I've had for now 8 years. But now delving back into your plans at Commerce, they do have a Phi Theta Kappa alumni chapter, I believe, and because I could remember seeing them on a list. Because what we do every year when we produce a program for our induction ceremony is we actually write out the list of all of the university-based Phi Theta Kappa alumni chapters that have a charter. And I know they've come up on the list before. I don't remember if they were on it this past fall. But this fall, the number of charters actually went down. The active charters was actually about 15 or 16, and it's typically in the 20s. So some of those charters did lapse for one reason or another. But Commerce does have one, correct?
They do. And I actually know a student that is currently an alumni with them. She is actually the chapter president at Grayson College as well.
So what you have at your disposal is definitely a golden opportunity to take advantage of the zeal that clearly comes across from you for getting a chance to really live out the desire you have for alumni to have a major role in continuing to promote the society to future members. Do you know by chance much about what they do at Commerce to try in terms of projects, or what they do to support the society, or is it, have you not delved into that deeply yet?
So we actually have a transfer person that actually comes regularly to our community college. Her name is Miss Peggy. When I talked to her about the alumni chapter, she actually told me that they are not as active as they would be at community college. So my goal when I transferred to Texas A&M Commerce is, of course, seeing how I can get into that alumni chapter, but also make them aware of what benefits they can actually do as an alumni chapter and how to promote them.
Geographically, oops, yeah, I thought I was on mute, sorry. Geographically, how far away are they from Eastfield College? Is it?
They're about 45 minutes away.
Okay.
So not that far.
Because one thing that we did manage to pull off in terms of when we got PTKAW started and kept active was we imported, the way I say it, we imported a lot of the volunteer projects that our members had undertaken while they were at the community college level. We started partnerships with those organizations, those volunteer partners. The first volunteer projects that we did were with a clinic that I used to help when I was a student at Highland Community College. And so by importing those projects, you have people who know each other, who are familiar with each other and what they need and with working together. And then it gives you a big boost and enables your new members to hit the ground running by having an infrastructure and repertoire of projects in place that people can not have to worry about planning once you get them created. You don't have to worry about the planning. You just have to worry about renewing it and getting the hands and the bodies that you need to make whatever project happen.
And I think with that,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Katty.
And sorry, Paul. I think with that would be a great, because you said you want to, your goal is to, get this chapter active that's over at the university that you're going to. And that's definitely one of the things that I've noticed is that if you have a plan in set, if you know kind of like, this is what, what we're thinking that we want to do in terms of projects or in terms of something that's almost like a routine. Because, in when we're at the community college, it's almost like a certain routine that we have of like the service projects and making sure, certain things are set in place and set ready so that our timelines are correct in terms of, turning in paperwork for HIA, turning in paperwork for Hallmark Awards. So I think when you have, a plan and set, then you don't really have to worry or spend too much time on the planning. It's more on the execution. At the beginning of the year, with your team, you decide this is what we want. And now how are we going to make that work? And then just continuing that definitely helps with, there's more members, but now we're at the university and it's like, oh, we're busier. It's like, yeah, you're busy, but you don't have to worry about planning it as much. You can show up and help us work on this. It's already set. We just need, the bodies, we need your help, the skills that you have that you can bring, in order for us to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so I can tell that, with the enthusiasm that you have, that will rub off on people. But and so I think you'll build a lot of momentum when you start trying to spread the word that way. But just as I do have a couple of tips that I do want to give you that are tangible. I won't go too much into them while we're rolling here, but I do want to share those with you. And I have a lot of stuff that I want to share with you via email and stuff to help you with this. But just in general, the advice that I would give you and anyone else who's interested in undertaking something like what we've done and like what you want to do, the one element of advice that I would share above all else is to keep a perspective on the reward that it offers to the individual students and to the institution. So you can get both of them behind it. And the number one thing is the opportunity to benefit from the Phi Theta Kappa bachelor's and master's degree scholarships, which matters. They're not well known. So people that
I didn't know about them.
Yeah. People that do apply for them have a very good chance of being competitive. And I was told that it's a small but a very compelling number of applications that get turned in for those awards when I turned mine in. So you keep the Phi Theta Kappa centered awards on there. And then the other thing is we've pitched ourselves as the organization for new transfer students who were in Phi Theta Kappa that best equips those students by virtue of the already in place volunteer projects and other activities that we have in place for them to hit the ground running, as I said, and merit as much consideration for leadership-based awards and scholarships at your four-year university. Because no other organization that you can join as a new transfer student could be more effective in getting you started quick and building your leadership profile, as I like to say, on campus than an organization like this, which is filled with people with a commonality of experience and a commonality of backgrounds. So
I completely agree with
those two
that.
ideas in mind, for sure. And
I will for sure keep those tips in mind as I continue my journey.
So
and with that, don't feel discouraged. Sometimes starting up or reigniting that fire takes a minute. It takes a minute. You might be, fired up and passionate and this is what I want to do. This is what I want to set in place. Sometimes it takes other people a little bit longer to move along.
And
especially if they have jobs and families and stuff like that.
I would almost tell you that in that first semester, you can expect that there's going to be so much adjustment that you're going to have to be making that the progress is going to be slow. Progress is going to be slow that first semester. For me, I didn't get to it until my second year as an undergrad. But when we got it started, I was ready. I had a feel for my campus, and what I had going against me that you don't have is the fact that we had to start an organization from scratch. Fortunately, our campus was very receptive to it. We know that your campus will also be very receptive to what you're doing because they already exist. So I do certainly, I will be sharing a lot of stuff with you over the course of the next coming months as you get prepared, because you're not looking to create an organization, you're looking to enhance an organization's profile on your campus. And that's in and of itself is a task that is something different from what I have experience with, but it's something that I can relate to very much. And certainly the people that have come through since we got started have the perspective that you have. They're coming on board an organization that already exists and trying to make it better. So, but to give you an idea of the rarity of this, as I said, the list is currently 16 of them. I think there's more in Texas than any other state. I don't know if Commerce is on the current charter list right now. The biggest one in terms of numbers is the University of Texas, Dallas, and that's because they have about 300 or 400 members, and they're actually were not chartered this past year, I think. that didn't get retained. But you could, if you look at the list of the people that got star ratings, and I know I sent that to you because it was right after it happened, we got the announcement and I was elated. If you look at that, it's, there's only one 5-star among the university-based, and then we were a 2-star, LSU was a 2-star, Mississippi was a 1-star. That was it. So that's not just someone that has a charter, that's someone that's fulfilled the criteria of the star rating, up and including the highest rating for 5-star, which is to have a scholarship endowed, which we do, fortunately. We've had some issues with that because one of the 2 grantors for that award died this past fall, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. But as of the moment, we believe we'll be 5-star for next year, and it took us a year, really, from when they created the 5-star process. It took us a year to get from 0 to 60 and get to the 5-star criteria. The only reason we didn't get it this year is because we didn't go to Catalyst because it was in Orlando, which that was unfortunate, but we were going to send Katty there this past April anyway because it was in Dallas, and then she got the added convenience in terms of logistics of participating online. So I mean, what would you say as we sort of delve into the more retrospective rather than prospective questions? What do you think, let me rephrase that. If when you're finished with your education, when you're out there embarked on your professional career, would you, if you had one character trait or one word you could choose that you would strive for other people to say about you in retrospect, what would that be?
Dedicated.
And you've proven that pretty much. You've definitely proven that at Eastfield.
Thank you.
And then I would also say, when it comes to fulfilling your professional goals, obviously you want to be a veterinarian. How best do you think, and we sort of touched on this a little bit just in regard to the campaign experience, but out of your entire Phi Theta Kappa experience, or your entire experience at Eastfield, what do you think is the most tangible benefit that you've derived that you will be able to utilize, the most important thing that you've learned, the most important skill that you've developed, the most important connections that you made, that will better you when you are out there in the workforce pursuing your professional goals?
I think the connections that I've actually made with the faculty and staff have helped me throughout my career and will continue to help me. The more you get involved with Phi Theta Kappa, the more connections and networking you get out of it. So when you actually continue your career, you can actually refer back to your connections and reach out to them if you ever need anything, such as a recommendation letter or a contact for your resume.
Katty, did you have anything to jump in with before I kind of pivot to the other things I wanted to mention?
I think really, with that what you mentioned with the dedication, definitely. I mean, just, the things that you've been sharing with us, and, that really, that dedication that you have moving forward, going forward, it's your drive. It really is. It's what pushes you forward to do things. And I definitely see that with what you've been telling us and letting us know.
Thank you. And I also want to share that the people that actually inspire me to dedicate myself fully to PTK and actually achieving all these awards are my chapter, as well as the people that actually support you and keep reaching out to you from other chapters or other organizations. That's what really inspires me to actually go further than my potential. It's actually truly bittersweet to know that you have friends from all over the US or even abroad supporting you and actually rooting for your journey.
And it sort of dovetails with sort of the big picture type question that I did have. I have a chapter specific question that I forgot to ask you that I'm going to get into next. But what the thing that I think always is most important for members of Phi Theta Kappa to understand, and the thing that I've always stressed to people when I participate in induction ceremonies as a guest speaker, is that any organization, be it an educational institution or a business or what have you, wants its best and most capable people representing them to the community, representing them to the outside world, so that it can leave the best possible impression of that organization to the public. And the way that I always explain it to these new members is, you are here because you are buying into the mission of this institution, meaning the community college. And what Phi Theta Kappa is doing is anointing you as one of the elite group of students who is tasked with now living out, particularly the service hallmark with Phi Theta Kappa out there in the world, when you're wearing the mantle not only of yourself, but of your college. And the example that I used to give from when I was at Highland is, we had wanted to undertake some projects with a retirement community and do some other work around town. We did a lot of stuff considering it was a town with 4,000 people, and it's not a lot you can do, but there's certainly a lot of need. So, but the line that I always said was, one of the things we wanted to do was enable people at this retirement community to work on art or do something productive, as in from their perspective, give them something that would be edifying, entertaining, and valuable to them that they wouldn't otherwise have a chance to do, like making art, like making cards, making Christmas decorations, and that sort of stuff. These are all things that we mentioned, and we would be working on it with them. Well, the way I saw it is, hey, you're going to be working with these people, and they're going to know who you are. And then that person that you worked with is going to have a grandchild or a great nephew or a neighbor or somebody that they know who is getting done with high school and considering their educational options. And they're going to say, in our case, I was always saying, look, they're going to say to their peers or the people that they know, their relatives, I know people, I've worked with people from Highland Community College. That is a great institution. I've had a chance to know students from that place, and it's a first-rate institution just based on the type of people that go there. You have no idea what kind of impact you have on people when you're representing them to your community. And I would also say that there's a lot of communities, particularly in rural America, where I went to my community college, where there's a lot of influences that are negative on youth. And we're taking away the non-traditional students because that's an entirely different demographic. But the community college, to me, in an institution, in a community like Wamego, Kansas, where I went to my community college, there's a big temptation for youth to get involved in the wrong stuff because there's not a lot of opportunity. What that educational institution is doing for people is giving people a map and giving people a path to that associate degree, and then a path through that associate degree to the bachelor's degree with the Phi Theta Kappa scholarships alongside of it. And so by being involved in representing the institution to the community, you're enabling people who may have never known about the existence of that institution to make the most of their lives using what education arms you with. So that long speech was to pivot into this question, which was, what is the sense of pride that you have, the sense of satisfaction that you have as a student at Eastfield, having a chance through Phi Theta Kappa to publicly represent your college to the community?
So my sense of pride with Phi Theta Kappa is actually the service events. With the service events, we can actually do on-campus service at our college food and resource pantry. This really allows our student and staff to know who we are and what we do, but it also allows them to get the benefits if they're food insecure or they need feminine products or hygiene products. We also do the North Texas Food Mobile Pantry, which actually the North Texas Food Bank comes to our campus. And we allow anybody from the DFW to actually get the produce and take it home or to their neighbors or anybody in need. This really allows us to promote Phi Theta Kappa on campus, but actually throughout the DFW area.
And that's very, and it's nice because you guys have a lot of opportunities being in a fairly large populated area. There's a lot of opportunities to do a lot of stuff and do a lot of good for a lot of people. So you do have a luxury, and you've clearly taken advantage of it. I think as I sort of, before I pivot into the alumni type stuff that we would finish with, I would just say, if you had one message in terms of to summarize to Eastfield, to your college, what would be your message as you leave Eastfield and leave your PTK chapter to them in terms of how it's impacted your life?
It has impacted my life greatly, with benefits, with actually supporting me as a student and as a junior advisor. I am grateful for all the opportunities it has given me, as well as the college president, Dr. Taylor, making himself aware to the campus community and trying to make a difference on campus by allowing all the organizations to actually intermingle and supporting us as an organization to allow us to promote to other students the benefits of what it is to be a Phi Theta Kappan.
And then with that, before I just delve into a couple of diversion questions about more just giving you a lowdown on what alumni life is like, and some suggestions as to how you could make a big impact at Texas A&M Commerce. Katie, did you have any other questions or comments that you wanted to toss in there?
No, I'm just listening at the moment.
What I would like to do now is just in the time that we've got left is to, as a discussion, kind of show you, Roxanna, some ways that you could emulate some of the projects that we've done, because the projects that we've done are not just projects that are of convenience for us because they're things we know how to do, but they're also projects for us that are easy to do for the type of organization that we are, which is an organization of all upperclassmen who are really, really busy, but have that commonality of experience and experience in the community college. And so, Katie, when we were communicating with Roxanna at first, I can't remember how first you reached out to us or not. I don't remember if it was with me or if it was with somebody else, but I do know that we sent you some of our newsletters and stuff. Yeah. over time, and I'm going to screen share here just because it's a cool image that I also want our viewers to see who haven't had a chance to maybe seeing about us for the first time. But if we screen share, I think what I showed Roxanna the first time was our newsletter here with the legendary cover. Do you remember this?
Yes.
This is when the shoe drive became a big time on our campus with these two. She's still here, and she's the opera singer, and you'll be seeing her on our officer installation in about a week when she sings the Phi Theta Kappa song. But what this talks about, this got the attention of everybody on our campus. This thing just went completely viral when we did this, and this was her idea. So don't blame me that they now think they're famous. It was their idea. But what the shoe drive has done over the years, as we went through with it, the idea of the shoe drive was, hey, we need to do a project that is convenient for our members in terms of time, and what is the best way that we can maximize the ratio of impact to time consumption of the members. And so it was originally hatched by the lady that endowed our scholarship, Rosemary Helms, who I used to work with when I was at Alumni Community College when she ran the local health clinic that we volunteered at. She said she wanted to distribute some clothing items, particularly shoes, to people in Haiti. And so we did a couple other global sites over the next few semesters. We couldn't believe the amount of shoes we were getting donated. It got to the point where when she retired, the people at that clinic said, there's too much stuff. We don't have the storage capacity for this stuff. So you guys probably need to do this in town. And so that's where we started doing this in Topeka. And we now partner with Doorstep Inc., which is a collaboration of Shawnee County churches on getting these shoes distributed to people in need. Prior to the first year we did this with Doorstep, it used to be, tropical locations that were going to be destinations of the items. So not all footwear was needed necessarily. And then when we said for the first time, hey, we especially need winter items, that's when these two pulled this stunt. And it was pretty funny, because now we said, we want everything now. Give us everything you have. But it's projects like this where, if you think about it, we leave a box in designated places around campus, and that box then does all the work. All we have to do is promote. The box is then left around campus, and people can bring it at their leisure, bring their donations at their leisure. So yeah, by the way, this is what some of the others did. They got jealous too. So anyway, it gives you an idea then of, if you think about a project that can make a huge impact, think about the people who are suffering. We're going through a time right now where particularly the working poor are just getting absolutely devastated right now.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of need for bare essentials, food, clothing, shelter. And people are really emphasizing the food right now. But the plight of the working poor and also the homeless is very, very important when it comes to clothing and other essentials as well. That's why we've done mostly using boxes like that for almost everything that we've done. We have a shoe drive where people leave the shoes in boxes and then we collect it when we're done. We do the same thing with hygiene products where we have soap, shampoo, and toothpaste to get distributed for the homeless. We do that before we do the shoe drive. We've started doing a drive for medical supplies, not the PP&E that you're hearing about in the news all the time, but stuff like thermometers and cotton balls, bandages,
Band-Aids, yeah, that sort of thing.
And we've done that once, and it worked. It worked out pretty well, and we're going to continue to do that for a local health clinic that's here in Topeka that just got started, and one of our nursing major members worked there. So don't undervalue when you're looking for projects and looking for volunteer partners and projects that make a tangible impact in your community. You have our permission to plagiarize the shoe drive 100% if you want. We'd be flattered if people want to do something like this. We've had some PTK chapters in our region try to do this, and we actually tried to make a region-wide challenge to the Kansas-Nebraska region that all the PTK chapters in the region could do a shoe drive, and then we keep track of how many donations came in, and whoever won got bragging rights. Whoever got the most shoes got bragging rights. So it gives you an idea of, you have a lot of opportunities to maximize that ratio, as I mentioned before. And don't be afraid to think, in this case, inside the box, since the box is doing all the work instead of thinking outside the box. So we
actually did something similar to you guys. Not exactly the shoe drive, but last year when I was the president, we actually did our college project as the college food and resource pantry, since we were the only college that did not have one. With that being said, we actually created boxes and we decorated them so people can actually get involved and donate. And we put out the boxes in different locations, like outside the library, outside the bookstore, and wherever the most common areas were. That being said, people donated a lot of canned goods, rice, beans, hygiene products, and we basically packed those hygiene products into little baggies so people could just grab and go out of the college food and resource pantry.
Yeah, and those are perfect. That's a perfect example of something that you can continue to do, once you move on and once you start working with your chapter. Because again, like Paul said, really that box has been essential in the fact that it does all the work for us. We do the promoting, we're the ones who, we post flyers, like at least in our university, we post flyers, we do, kind of like in a way like infomercials through
Mhm.
through Instagram, through social media. So I mean, those are simple ways. It's things that we already do, on the daily. We check in at least once or twice, more than that for a lot of people, into our social media pages. Those are things, ways to connect, to extend those connections, with other people on campus, with other, other chapters, or not chapters, other organizations on your campus, to reach out to those students that maybe you might not know personally, but through a post, through something that was made on their page that they follow, that they see. Those are those connections that you can make. And again, like you said, set a box in those highly, high traffic areas, and everything is there for you. So it's in that sense, it's real easy to continue, to do projects, to do things throughout the school year, as you move on forward.
Exactly. And when people see the name on the box Phi Theta Kappa, if they're not a member, they can be a potential member.
Exactly.
And so keep those types of tangible products in mind, and don't be afraid to aggressively look for new partnerships, because you will go a long way. And it's gotten to the point with the shoe drive with us, people on our campus actually now know what our organization is about and the type of demographic that our organization serves, and actually know more about Phi Theta Kappa and even more about the community college because of the project that we've done. So that was an unintended benefit, but it started to build a name for the student that we represent, and represent the community college as well on our campus by undertaking projects like this. Because I have faculty that I know who will ask me without saying hello or anything, how's the shoe drive going? It literally happens. Or they're commenting on the latest, pictures and stuff. And Katie, I was trying to find one of the ones of you in one of those sheets, and I can't pull it up, but I can't find it. I'll share it with Roxanna later. But
Thank you.
so, okay, I've peppered you enough with our promotional stuff, but do definitely.
Are you convinced yet?
I couldn't hear you.
As many.
I said, are you guys convinced? Are you convinced yet?
We want to see, like Roxanna, we want to see a newsletter cover of you and one of your colleagues like that.
Oh,
like the one we showed you.
Especially since we're in Texas.
So I would also highly recommend always coordinating closely with your Office of Admissions, because I don't know, they may do this already. The way we work is our admissions office gives us a list of the incoming Phi Theta Kappa scholarship recipients every fall. And it's not perfect. It misses people. It missed Katie, for instance. Katie found out about us through word of mouth. And it misses about half of the Phi Theta Kappa members that are here. It's not a perfect system because it doesn't record people who transfer in the spring, and it doesn't pick everybody up for whatever reason. We don't know why, but it gives us a starting point. It's typically about 40 people a year, and typically, maybe 40 to 50% end up joining us in a typical year. So it gives you an idea of, though, you have the direct marketing and the materials, like what I just showed you with that newsletter. You have the direct marketing and the materials to share with them and really wow them and really make a great first impression on them. For some of them, and this is a whole large share of our members, you have people that did not exhibit the degree of involvement that you have as a member, or even as I have necessarily, where I was at least an officer with my chapter. So what you have, though, is people who oftentimes have joined right before they get their associate degree, and then they find out about the scholarship, and now they're perked up. Now their eyes are open. Now they're aware. They're interested. Once they find out about, if I got this opportunity because of that, this is a big deal. What can I do? And what they have in common is they may not have been the most active person, but what everybody of our members have in common, and that's why they succeed, is because they have an interest in and a dedication to their community college, because they used that to come here. And that's where you can awaken that interest and the desire in them. And some of our most accomplished members, if you've seen about Cayenne Eslick in some of the stuff that I've sent you, she's the perfect person as the exemplary person for that, because she was a student athlete. She joined right before she transferred, partially because she was a volleyball player, just out of this world, going to play Division I volleyball. It was insane. I've seen her playing. She looked like an adult playing against middle schoolers. That's how good she was. And she tore her ACL, I think 3 or 4 times. And so she finally retired when she was still at her community college. And she joined Phi Theta Kappa the semester before she transferred and ended up coming to Washburn. And we were darn lucky to have her, because she then became probably the most accomplished person we've ever had. And you can see in some of the past letters and stuff. I'll leave that up to your research, because she's someone that you definitely, I recommend reading up on, because this is a person who is not as active as you are, but this is a person who will represent a lot of what you're pitching your alumni chapter to when you get to Texas A&M Commerce. And if you can find a way to resonate with that person and deliver a presentation that works with a person like that, you have no idea how much potential you're unlocking in that person, because this is a person who had one thing that mattered most importantly, and they loved their community college, and they loved how they benefited from their community college when they came to our university. And she is the best. And it's when I was trying to pitch the idea of this organization to people and how it would benefit students, her career was the epitomization of that pitch that I was making. She fully realized all of that. And so I do recommend reading up on her through our materials, through our literature that you see, because she was quite remarkable.
Yes.
And I don't know how she ever ate or slept or did anything, because she had our organization and other responsibilities too. So having said that, that gives you an idea of how to develop a sense of relatability to people in that background, in addition to the super duper involved person as yourself. So, and then I think Katie, if you didn't have anything else to add, I think what I wanted to do then is to give Roxanna a chance to ask us any questions, and then just sort of see if she has any other statements that you would want to give before we stop rolling.
Right. That was going to be my question to you, is if you had any questions for us.
What other events besides the shoebox have y'all done to get people involved and interested in Phi Theta Kappa as an alumni chapter?
In our history, we have a repertoire of about 5 regular volunteer projects. Right now, we used to have a 5K that is on hold due to construction on campus. That's to Trevor's increasing chagrin. Katie, as you well know, Trevor's our vice president. He's a cross-country runner, and he was very much looking forward to taking the reins of planning the 5K away from me, because I was trying to offload it. And then they go to him and say, hey, we're building an athletics practice facility, and after that, we're renovating the law school, so we can't really have 5Ks on campus right now. So, but when we do that, it's a fundraiser that we do for Community Care Ministry, what used to be known as Community Health Ministry, which is the organization that I mentioned earlier that was the volunteer partner that I had when I was at Highland Community College. I brought that partnership with me when I came to Washburn. And so that's a fundraiser for them. That project, the project itself has never been super, super large scale. I mean, we've raised about $800 between the two events, so it's nothing to sneeze at, but it's mostly a promotional tool to promote the need of this clinic, Community Care Ministry, because they're in a rural area 45 minutes outside of Topeka where people need a lot of help. There's a lot of need, for instance, for pro bono dental care. Frankly, I don't mean to be graphic, but the use of methamphetamines in rural America comes into play a lot with some of the state of people's teeth. Frankly, you have people that are trying to recover and are on the mend, fixing their lives, and these are people that are having a facility for dentists to come contribute their skills to help make these people's lives better and eliminate that scar from their lives of drug abuse, for instance. There's a lot of other stuff. They have the only food pantry in the city that they're in. They have clothing and basically an everything donation apparatus for people to donate stuff, because if nothing else, that stuff is raw material. or something that can be sold and produce benefits for the poor that need it. When I first toured their facility, for instance, they had an all-everything garage. That's what they called it, the omnivorous garage. There was an awning in there. A real estate agent who was retiring donated her awning from her office building. So it was basically, you got stuff, we want it, because we'll put it to use somehow. So that's the one partnership that we have. The shoe drive we do now is with Doorstep Inc., which is, as I said, it's a collaboration of 55 different churches in Topeka. They distribute it to their clients around the city of Topeka each semester when we do the drive. The medical supplies drive, like I mentioned before, is a collaborative effort we do with a medical clinic in town called the Pine Ridge Family Health Center. You can find them out online because I know they have a lot of social media, and you can see it in our website as well. But they do a lot of poor or service of the poor as well for people that have urgent need for medical care here in the city of Topeka. And that's where we collected the simple basic stuff that is costly and something that's cost prohibitive for a clinic like that in their situation, for stuff like bandages, cotton balls, thermometers, and that sort of stuff. And then the other thing we do, as from a volunteer perspective, is we also use a box to collect hygiene products for the homeless, and that is also distributed by Community Care Ministry, as we mentioned before. So typically at the beginning of every semester in January, we'll get people who are in the giving spirit after Christmas is gone, to donate a lot of times it's travel size soap, shampoo, and toothpaste, toothbrushes in some cases. We've had people donate other stuff too that hasn't been very germane, but that's another story, for the homeless in Shawnee County and then the two counties around us where Community Care Ministry has their service area. So those are the real service. Oh, and I forgot the trunk or treat.
The trunk or
You see
treat,
that
yeah.
newsletter? Yes, and Katie's participated in that. There's a facility here in town that caters to children with special needs and children with mental health who need, and in many cases, an adult mentor in their life. It's called Family Service and Guidance Center. A lot of social work majors from our university do their practicums there. It's run by people from our university who are alumni. So it's very much closely attached to our college. We got the call to participate in their trunk or treat, where they have students in their cars handing out candy and goodies to the children who are clients of this facility every year right before Halloween, because it's a way that they can have a safe afternoon of trick-or-treating that they wouldn't have because they wouldn't be able to trick-or-treat because they don't live in a place where it's safe to trick-or-treat, or they don't have an adult to take them trick-or-treating. Children who really need some source of good in their lives like that. And this event then, in the setting of them, these kids being around other children who they're with every day, who are in the same boat as they are, and around the adults and the young adult mentors that these kids have. It's a big opportunity for camaraderie between those children, among those children, but it also is a very rewarding experience because the children are actually doing something fun when their lives don't give them a chance to have much fun. And we volunteered at that for 1 year, and then afterward, the people at the facility told us, could you please be the organizers of this event? So now we are responsible for getting all of the student organizations on campus to get their people, get their cars, get their candy, and come to the Family Service and Guidance Center and participate in the trunk or treat and hand out the candy. This past year, you're in Texas, so you probably can't relate to this. We typically do it right before Halloween. We had to audible and go indoors. I was not there, but Katie was, and we had to go indoors because it was snowing. So they didn't quite have the fun experience that they had. The only time I've ever been at the trunk or treat was the first year that we did it, and it was 90 degrees outside. So
Oh, wow.
I can't relate to the rest of it. But so there's about 5 or 6 volunteer projects that we do. Some of them require more time than others. Some of them require more planning. Some of them require harder work logistically than others. But that gives you an idea. The rest of our time, we're mostly consumed with doing recruiting activities. Washburn lets us come to the transfer student orientation, which is when transfer students come to enroll. Washburn brings us to Transfer Day, which is when students are visiting campus deciding where they want to transfer to. And it gives us a lot of opportunities to interact with people and actually influence their decision of where they're going to choose to go to college, which is a big deal. And then we do a lot of support activities for Phi Theta Kappa among the chapters that are in our area and at the region level, where we participate at their induction ceremonies. We volunteer at the convention. We have a presence at the regional convention so that we can talk about Washburn and the opportunities that they have and what we're doing. And we, especially my favorite is participating in induction ceremonies across the region. I've been a speaker at Highland Community College, Wamego, my alma mater, several times. I've spoken at Allen Community College, which is about an hour and a half south of here. We have a community college that's actually just 25 minutes south of where we are right now, and they have a ton of people in our group because so many of Topeka residents go there to get their associate degree before they come back up to Washburn. So we have a lot of induction ceremonies that we participate in as alumni, from everything from speaking to doing like what Katty did, which is at Highland last year, she ended up basically setting up the room with her and one other person herself, and they were doing it in a classroom.
Yeah.
So she was lifting tables and chairs and all that stuff, and I was standing around wondering, am I going to get yelled at for not doing anything while Katty's doing all the work? So that's the speed version. And that sort of perspective is why we do our publications and why we maintain our sites, so that people have a chance to really delve through it in a more detailed way than the 50,000 feet version that I gave you just now. But that gives you an idea then of what we're really about. We try to be really, really active on our campus because we know it will put in the good word on behalf of the community college across our entire campus, and will enhance the chances that our university will increase the Phi Theta Kappa scholarship, both in amount and number of scholarships. So,
well, y'all are doing an amazing job. Hearing everything, it's unbelievable at what y'all's level can do.
And another tip that I would have is, as I just thought of this, is the heavy documentation, and your chapter does a great job online, because I've seen, and among chapters it's probably easier to do than an organization like ours, but I would highly recommend having a website and then doing getting whatever permissions and not just social media, but actually a website, because the social media changes over time. The website can be the same and be constantly updated. It means a lot for convenience of people. And then publishing a newsletter, publishing videos and that sort of thing. You put a blitz of promotion on, you're getting as much attention for your members as you can. And that matters too, because it'll make a difference for them on their own campus for getting scholarships and such.
Yeah. And
we're actually, sorry.
I was going to say that furthers really what you mentioned before with the connections. I mean, you're going back basically to the community, reaching out to the community colleges where you came from. You're keeping those connections, you're keeping them fresh, you're making the new ones. And then as students are coming over, you can tell them, this is what we do, this is how we serve, this is how we give back. And it's, it's similar in the same way that, you know what to expect, but it's different in that there's different ways for you to do what you know and use what you know.
We're actually trying to set up a website for our chapter, but since we're in the process of actually changing the whole Dallas County Community Colleges name, which we fall under out of the 7 colleges, we're still trying to figure out where we fall under as a PTK chapter.
Well, definitely keep it in mind, both as a recommendation for your chapter and for when you get to Texas A&M Commerce, because the website is the front porch, really. If the social media alone is not going to cut it, it won't. Exactly. Trust me. By the way, before we sign off, I was able to find that picture of Katty.
Oh no!
So there we go. There we go. Yeah. So she appears on this multiple times. So anyway, I delivered on my promise then. These were just. Okay, I'm an old guy, so this is really, really cool, as much as I hate to admit it and as jealous as I am of these guys, but it was really cool what they came up with, because it people see pictures like that and they say, holy cow, what are they working on? It catches people's attention. So, so Roxanna, did you have any other final statement? Because I realized that we have another interview that we want to do at 2:30, and it was my fault because I gave you a speech there. But did you have anything else that you wanted to share, or did you have any additional questions?
I don't have anything else to share. I think we covered it.
Well, Roxanna, I do want to really express our appreciation for you sitting down and having this conversation with us. I also want to compliment you on how you orchestrated your candidates campaign, because it was very remarkable. It was very professional. It was very thorough. And it certainly got people's attention. And that's how I knew who you were when you started reaching out and following us. And I can't remember how exactly we got connected, but I'm glad we did. So you deserve a lot of kudos for how you ran that campaign, and also for how you go about your business just in the course of this interview, how you go about life the right way in a very professional and courteous manner, respecting your audience and stuff. That is not something for youth to take for granted. And so I do want to make sure that you understand and you receive compliments on that, because you are very, very professional, selfless, courteous person that goes about business the right way, in my opinion, and you deserve a lot of credit for that.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. I really appreciate this opportunity you have given me. It was a great pleasure to talk to you guys today. And I just want to say that everybody inspires me to continue my journey with PTK.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For being a source of good for others the way that you are. Please don't ever lose that zeal. Please don't ever lose that zeal. All right, we're going to stop rolling in 3, 2, 1.